Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends, and welcome to JCB Live. Today, this happy hour, on this famous day, Pearl Harbor Day, is going to be live in person in the heart of Napa Valley. Our guest is extremely phenomenal. One, he's French, so he can only be fabulous. He's originally from the wonderful War Valley, the Valley of the King, and you could see his blood is blue like the king themselves. He knows everything about wine that there is to know, but very importantly, he has, like me, a very unique Franco-American story, love, and passion for the United States, passion for wine, passion for others, and the love of life, to the point that he has a story he's going to share with us that is the most unusual. When you live and you die and you're reborn. Figuratively speaking, he's lived one of the most unusual experience of all time. And you may have seen him on national television in the last few weeks and months because he was obviously featured as one of the men who's known the tunnel, came out of it, and was reborn. So we're going to talk a lot about that. It's around Christmas time. We just passed Thanksgiving, and this is the amazing experience that we've lived, that he's lived, that he's willing to share with us. So, dear friends, please welcome Boris Guillome. Yes! There he is!
Bonjour, Jean-Charles.
Boris, what a pleasure.
It's my pleasure to be here with you today.
Well, first, let's have a toast.
Yes, of course. Santé.
To
Thank
friendship.
you for inviting me. It's definitely an honor to be here today.
Well, it's an honor to have you.
Happy holidays, everybody. Home and abroad.
So can you believe two Frenchmen together? It's a
I
danger.
know. It's going to be a lot of subtitles, I guess. Okay, what are they talking about now?
And we've been knowing each other for many years, dear friends. But let's dive into something that is one of the most unusual things that anyone can possibly live in their life and have another chance to continue to live. So, Boris, why don't you take it from there?
All right. So, indeed, I do have a story to tell today. And one of the reasons why I think it's important to tell it, it's not so much to bring the spotlight toward myself and what happened to me, because technically all I did is what you said, I dropped dead that day, but it's to bring the awareness of what happened to me could have happened to a lot of other people. And I think that if you go through a story as I'm going to tell it, what I want you to get from it is listen to yourself, always be aware of how you feel, and never be afraid of, like, obviously going and getting medical attention if you need to, and obviously, making it as I did. So
wine is not enough. Don't just drink wine if you feel sad or your body is talking to you.
Mm-hmm. Cheers.
You may want to go to the emergency room and get checked out. So,
correct.
Boris, that was amazing. So tell us what happened.
Yes, so President Day 2019, so just shy of 2 years ago, I had a day off, and which is pretty unusual. So I was like, what should I do? So I actually went to work out in the morning, did my exercise, and halfway through the workout, I started to feel some chest pain. And at the time, I was actually doing some upper body workouts. Like, maybe I just push it too hard. And
upper body meaning
upper body, that's right. That's right.
Push-ups.
I used to look a lot younger back then.
Look at that. There's everything you need, and his beautiful fiance is telling me his chest is the best there is.
If you say so, must be true.
Well, if she says so, I haven't seen.
Everything. And so that day I went to work out. I stopped working out because I definitely felt some pain, which I thought was like muscle pain at the time. Went downstairs, showered, got myself ready for the day. It was still like 11 o'clock in the morning. And so in Napa, which is where I live, as we both live actually, the movie theater is actually right next door to the gym. So I was like, hey, why don't I just go and see a movie? And I looked briefly to see what was playing that day, and there's nothing very special. I was like, why not? Let's go anyway. And that's literally saved my life. I mean, if I had gone back home, I would obviously not be enjoying your beautiful wine with you today. But I so walked into the movie theater, and started to feel more and more chest pain. And actually, I called my partner, who's here right now with us, and I say, "Hey, Jeanette, I'm really feeling like a lot of pain. I feel like I've got like an elephant sitting on my chest." And just so you guys know, in case it helps, so the way it felt to me was definitely as if someone was sitting on me.
Wow.
And the pain was not so much anymore on the chest as much as it was actually all the way up to my back.
And the lower back.
And the lower back, especially, you know, like it's and so I got my ticket, sat down, started to watch the preview. I texted her, and I was like, you know, almost joking at this time, because actually I did go to a doctor about 3 months prior to, because I started to feel this pain as well, and they say, you know, you overwork, you stress, whatever, but you're in good shape, you work out 5 days a week, you don't smoke, which is unusual for French people, as you know.
That's right.
You barely drink, which is also unusual for French people.
He tastes a lot of wine, but he spits, apparently.
A lot of, exactly, of spitting. And so anyway, I didn't think I would have any pre-symptoms such as having chest pain at my age, which was 45 years old at the time. But I did. So the guy said, no, don't worry about it. So here I'm back on President Day, February 2019. And I'm like, okay, that's starting to be very, very uncomfortable. And I cannot tell you why, but suddenly it's almost like an instinct. I just stood up. I was like, I'm in a dark room. If something happened to me, which I thought was going to be past, I'm going to be like in trouble. So I walked out of the room, started to walk toward the where they take your ticket and you have to tell your tickets. And here I see this probably like 15 years old girl, age of my son. And I go to her, I say, can you please help me? I'm having some chest pain. And with my French accent, which is charming French accent, slightly French accent, she's like, do you need a refund, sir? I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna die. She's not understanding what I'm talking to her about. But I look really bad. And the janitor, which was right behind her, he looked at me and said, hey, sir, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm having some chest pain. Can you please help me? And he told me to go and sit, and I just blacked out.
Wow.
So
total blackout.
That's so that's chapter 1, blacked out. And from that point on, obviously, I was told what happened more than anything, because I don't have a lot of recollection. But what's amazing is actually what's coming up right now, which is number 1. So there's a gentleman called Sean Reisig, who's actually became a very good friend since then, who had initially thought about going to play bowling with his kids and his wife that day, and it was a busy day, no lines were available. So, hey, why don't we go and see a movie instead? So virtually as he walked in, he saw me dropping, and he obviously knew how to do CPR, which is obviously something
something we should probably all learn.
Everybody should learn. I've learned. I'm a certified CPR person since then. It took 2 hours of my life, and it's a life-saving knowledge. Obviously, I'm here to prove it. And so that day, Sean looked at me. The guy was on the 911 call, and at first they thought I was having epilepsy, which actually I did have as well, triggered by the heart attack. But virtually, I had stopped breathing, totally cardiac arrest at the time. So he started to do CPR on me.
So CPR meaning?
CPR
on your chest.
On my chest. So what you do, it's like you do 30 repetitions like this.
I see.
Then breathing twice. And then you start again, and you just don't stop.
It's good. We're getting a tutorial.
Yeah, you know, and the funny thing, like obviously, doing it on a mannequin, which I encourage you to go and get trained. It's actually very, very intense. You do feel after the minute of the workout, and you're not supposed to do it for more than 2 minutes. If there's more than one person who's CPR trained, you should almost say, okay, you do it first, my turn, because you lose a lot of power after 2 minutes, and you're not as efficient.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he did CPR, which allowed obviously blood and oxygen to go to my brain. The paramedics arrived. They obviously acknowledged that I had no pulse, and they shocked me, which brought me back to.
So the actual.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And
pretty intense on the body.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Not that I remember, but obviously it is. And then obviously they took me to the ER. Napa actually has one of the best survival rate when it comes to
Really?
people having cardiac arrest. And I think it's due to many things. We have a special program in place. So virtually by the time I got to the ER, which was about 20 minutes after I had dropped dead, they had the entire, like from the surgeon, everybody was like ready. They knew exactly what had happened, what was going to happen to me. And obviously they did a surgery. They placed 2 stents into my right artery, which was 100% blocked. And I'm here to survive, obviously, and I'm here to...
That's amazing!
Yeah, that story, so...
Well, it's exciting to live a story like that because there's big learnings from it.
There's a lot of learnings. Number one, the sense of being very thankful for all the people that saved my life that day. And it's a matter of circumstances, but if you are a little bit spiritual, and I know you and I have a lot of spirituality in us. So Sean actually had lost his dad 2 weeks prior to the day of a heart attack.
Amazing.
And he's the one his dad passed away during the weekend, and he's the one that went on a Monday morning to find out his dad had passed, which obviously, so...
and he saved you a week later.
And 2 weeks later, he was here to save me.
Unbelievable.
Correct, yes. And so it definitely brought a sense of, completion for him, I think, to be able to do it.
For sure.
And for me, I've gained a new family member. He's part of the family now, for sure. Whether or not he wants it, he's part of it anyway, And obviously, we've been really good friends since then. So something that's special.
And what's another? Maybe you should describe the wines because.
So what are we drinking
now
anyway?
You can
so
really
much talking, so little drinking.
Well, Crémant de Bourgogne to
Crémant de
celebrate
Bourgogne.
number 21 because you look like you're 21 again.
Barely.
You feel like
older.
21.
Yes, thank you very much.
Well, and this is our Chardonnay Pinot Noir from Burgundy, Méthode Champenoise, and we thought we had to celebrate because what an amazing experience. And I think, what are the key learnings maybe the wine helps you to describe the key learnings of, I like this wine, it's very luminous.
Yes, I love it too.
And you see the light.
Yeah, so a lot of green apple, very very bright, very fresh. Some toasty notes as well. It's easy to drink. That's probably a good thing too.
Yes.
And there's many learning from what happened to me. Number one is, there's a say that we only live once.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it actually took me to live twice to realize that's true. And to just be able to enjoy simple pleasure. I mean, the fact of, we all have a sense of like pleasure of different things coming to us. But again, invest into yourself, always be aware of how you feel. Mm-hmm. And for me, to be able to go on for another day every single day. I mean, there's good days, there's bad days like any other person. But again, I'm here, I'm able to live through it. And that's a blessing on its own. So I try to be a lot more thankful and a lot more appreciative of every single thing. Whether it's like, like you and I were talking about roses before the show started.
Yes.
For me, it's like beauty of nature is obviously a big thing.
Well, we wanted you to make sure we all smell the roses.
Exactly.
As the expression says. Can you believe where we are in Napa, which is our secret place? Those roses are historical heirloom roses that would pass from the previous century to today. So I cannot tell you which variety, but aren't they phenomenal?
Gorgeous,
smell this. And we are in December, dear friends, and we have roses still in the garden.
That's amazing. I mean, as we were talking about, that I just bought a new place and we have a huge amount of roses and they just keep coming and coming. You cut them and it's California. We get blessed with that. I mean, whether it's the wine, whether it's the actual... everything that grows here is just magical for sure,
So, Boris, thank you so much, first of all, for being open on this. And you were on the Today Show.
And I was on the Today Show. So it's funny, out of nowhere, I got a call about a month and a half ago and say, hey, we heard your story. So I've been on a few charity events, kind of raise some money. And I had, I've been featured in some of the local newspaper, but they found my story out of nowhere, and they wanted to do a segment about survival and people who obviously do something for somebody else, which happened to be the case for not just Sean, but the entire first responders. You know? And so they said, hey, we like to do a segment. So I was on the Today Show back in mid-November, I think, so a few weeks ago now. And again, they did a tremendous job in terms of like acknowledging what happened that day, what people did for me, and obviously the fact that I'm here to.
And the link you see below your screen right now is the link of the Today Show. So after this wonderful time together, you can watch it and you can dial in and really see. An important question, Boris. So we all read books, talk about it from religion, whichever religion we belong to the moment of darkness and rebirth, to the moment of what we see as, you know, life fades away and restart. How did you live that, and did you actually see that?
So that's one of my biggest frustration, actually, because that's a very common question I get. Like, hey, you know, did you see the light? The tunnel? And unfortunately, I did not. I blacked out, and we talked a lot about it because I think there's probably ways to. It's there. It's deep inside. I don't know why it's not coming out, because I did live through the experience in the sense that I do remember the voice of my first responders. Like, actually, I met them a week later, and as soon as they started to talk, it's like, okay, I know you. You were the guy that.
So you were listening.
So
subconsciously,
my sense of listening was obviously there. The vision, I don't remember anything in terms of vision. The only thing I can say is I felt a sense of peace, like someone was taking care of me. It's almost like, you know, like once I'm gonna say something totally stupid, but when you get your, like, you go to get a haircut, and you just like, okay, just take care of me, you know. Same thing. Like there was someone.
I thought you were gonna say when you go for a massage.
Oh, massage.
I mean, haircut is okay, but you know.
Well, actually, it's a better example too. So, but it's sense like, you know what, my body right now, I no longer control anything. But someone else is taking over, and someone else, whether it's the first responder, whether it's like, you know, being spiritual, for me, it's all about energy. And there was an energy there that was obviously creating like a bubble around me. You know.
Do you actually believe it was meant to happen?
Yes. Definitely.
So you believe in destiny?
It was meant to happen.
Sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no question.
And what is, and you kind of obviously mention it, but what is the big takeaway for you personally, if you're willing to share that? As far as the moment of your life, what happens, and you're still probably learning from it because it was so recent.
Yes. So the big takeaway. So. Jeanette, my partner, was here as well today with us watching the show. She said she created like the Boris 2.0. So you just have to rethink about who you are. And when I say who you are, is like, who do you want to be as a person? You know, obviously being how you present yourself, how you listen to other people. And also a sense of just being very thankful for every single day. What, you know, it's we're here for a short period of time. Let's all face it. No matter how long it is, it's a short period of time. And just making a good imprint and feeling like, you know what, today can be the last day, and I'm happy with what I've done over the past 2 years.
So spiritually, how do you recommend for us to do that without going through naturally such a trauma? Because as you kindly said, and I'm agreeing with your school of thoughts, that it was written, meant to happen, and you to become that example to others, to make sure that we realize life is not granted and we drive it, and we got to enjoy it. I think that's a very big takeaway.
Exactly.
How should we do this? What's your recommendation now retrospectively? I've been knowing you for many years. You go 500 miles an hour. And we'll talk about that shortly. From your business to your personal life to all of that, and suddenly you have a reset.
So it's balance. As you said, I mean, we all live our life with a sense of obligations. I mean,
Yeah.
let's face it, if you could do just whatever you want, it'd be amazing. But we have requirements, whether it's family requirement, whether it's work requirement. But to really take the time to think about what matters,
Yes.
and the number one should be yourself. Obviously,
Yes.
if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't invest in yourself, you have nothing to offer to people, number one. And number two
Big takeaway.
is to obviously focus on what is important to you and make sure these things are part of your life. So let's say if you do, for you, it's like, hey, you know, I've always wanted to travel the world.
Yes.
And yes, of course, you're not going to go and take your backpack and travel for the next 10 years, or maybe you should. Maybe you should.
No.
But at least make the time, because that's part of who you want to be. So that's part of who you should be. You know, I mean, maybe you cannot take more than a 1 week trip per year somewhere, but make the moment and make the decision to do it.
Yes.
And stick to it. Try not to be in a situation where, like, I mean, in my case, if I had passed that day, as you said, I kind of like a bit of a workaholic. I can take on and not necessarily realize how much I'm taking on. And I was like, okay, so when was the last time before I had my accident where I really had like, I took some time to really invest into what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really important, to be able to make balance. I cannot do everything I want to do today, but at least I'm making the time to invest some of my time away from work, away from other obligation, into getting this done.
And how did you do it, Boris? So you said to yourself, okay, this is now the reset that I need to do. Did you take a pad and started a list? Did you build priorities? Did you see someone to help you to do this? Did Jeanette
So
help you in the process and hold you accountable to it?
no, so I mean, not a,
Because that's a big question,
Yeah.
is holding ourselves accountable
so I mean,
to...
not to dig deep into my personal situation, but at the time I had been working a lot. I had just met Janet. We're actually very good friends.
On a boat going
boat,
to the
very-
Bay
that's
of
right,
San
that's right.
Francisco.
That's right. And but we were friends, but you know, just good friends. We knew we had a connection, but we didn't necessarily acknowledge it, you know, to each other.
And she had a big hit for you, I hear. Well, who wouldn't? I know. Well, let's drink to
That's what
that.
she still does, though. But
She told me that she turned pink when you were looking at each other's eyes.
Oh boy!
Just like the wine.
So what are we drinking?
And she
anyway?
started to
A rosé?
blush like this blush rosé, Pinot Noir rosé from the Russian River. And she tells me the story because she had a big crush on you right away.
Oof.
Right?
It must be the French accent. You know, that definitely helps. You know, French accent will help with this and with the wine business. I remember when I started, which 20 years ago in the US, and obviously I was just beginning my wine career with very little wine knowledge, but the French accent, you just have to talk in French and well, that guy knows what he's talking about, which we don't, but it sounds like we do.
We pretend.
Well, now hopefully we learned a few things since then, but it definitely was a...
Well, on that note, Boris,
Yes.
if you're willing to share, what actually took you to the US? Because, like, you know, as I said as an introduction, we both share the love of America.
Correct.
And you're from the Loire Valley, which is that magnificent place, the Valley of the King. You know, so when I say the blue blood that runs through his veins is really where all the kings resided, from really the Renaissance all the way up to today. So,
Correct.
Quite a place.
Yeah, no, there's no place like home, and it's a gorgeous place. Obviously, a lot of history, a lot of great food, a lot of great wines too, actually. And so I came. You know, it's funny because I don't know about you, and growing up in France, obviously our main trips tends to be a bit closer, like England, Spain, Italy. I never really thought about going to the US, but I did actually apply during my second year in college for like a program where they actually pay for everything. They big state college, they send 10 students every year. They cover your tuition, food, housing, everything is paid for. You just have to apply and get selected. So don't know why, but ultimately I applied and they selected me to come. So I came came here in 1995, and I just fell in love with the culture, with the. What I love about America, and maybe you obviously have a different opinion, but it's just like it's a land of opportunities. Just what you make of it is really what you
receive
get.
from it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, it's a beautiful country. I mean, we live in one of the most gorgeous country, no question, and it's also a country that's been made out of a lot of other cultures, which I love. That kind of like melting pot of different
welcoming
cultures.
other cultures.
Welcoming, exactly. Like you can come from France and you will become an American if you really want to, and that's one of your desire, you know. So it's
which is very different in our society of France.
It's a bit more I mean, people in France don't necessarily travel as much, being even like, you know, like within their own country. Like my parents were born 50 miles away from where my mom lives, you know, and it's like here, I mean, people are like, hey, you know, I was born in Washington State and now I'm living in, you know, Miami, Florida, great place, by the way. Or, but it's like people are more than willing to travel.
That's right.
And I think that goes throughout the culture of being open-minded, you know, which is the same with the wine, by the way, because I always get I don't know if you do too, but being in the wine business, people are, oh, you know, you French guys, like, you know a lot about wine, it's part of your culture, which is true. Drinking wine has always been part of my culture, such as yours. But the level of knowledge of the American wine consumer is really, really high. A lot, in my opinion, a lot better than what I've seen in Europe, because
True.
By definition, there's a lot of interest to learn, as opposed to you know, people from Burgundy sometimes they're stuck in Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and they don't necessarily want to even explore wine from Bordeaux. Not even.
And the French are more closed, it seems, to ask questions because they're afraid to be judged
Correct.
by the question they ask. And it goes for the Italian and the Spanish, I mean the Latin culture.
The European
in
culture,
general.
yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Isn't it what we love here is people are willing to say, I don't know and I want to learn?
Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. Like a sense of like, I don't know, but I want to learn.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I should know and I feel a bit ashamed not to know that, you know.
Well, I'm going to toast to that.
Yeah, let's
Hey, this is rosé, by the way. So we put white wine, red wine together, and we hope it becomes rosé, right? Is that how we do it?
No.
It's a quiz.
It's a quiz.
Whoever says no wins a kiss from Boris.
Oh boy, I don't know if
And
they want to do
a
that
handshake
one.
from me.
Yeah. After COVID though.
So this is our Summer on my coast. What do you think of that?
You know, so it's funny that you serve this one. I love rosé because obviously we live in a part of the country where we have a lot of sunshine, and it's just it's sunshine in the bottle for me. It's like it's very joyful. It goes with virtually everything. It's both sparkling wine and rosé. I mean, you can't go wrong. Whether it's like barbecue in the backyard, whether it's like a special celebration.
Yeah.
Friday night celebration or
That's right.
Tuesday night, whatever fit you and
every night.
Every night.
What about every night a celebration?
Yeah.
You said it. We need to celebrate life daily.
You should
to be grateful that we are.
Definitely, yeah. And no, rosé is just for me. It's very. It's what you share with family, or with friends over barbecue, or if you like spicy food, it's awesome too. It's a very very easy. Wine
and isn't
drink.
the Sonoma Coast so amazing?
And I love Sonoma Coast.
I'm in love with that texture.
And when it comes to rosé, I love Pinot Noir based rosé. I think there's an elegance to it. That's
and from the Loire Valley, obviously.
Yeah, well,
you know, you make some of the best Pinot Rosé and Cap Franc Rosé
as well. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So, Boris, you're a huge authority in wine because besides this experience,
yes.
You know,
a lot of drinking is what you meant.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. I witnessed that many times.
Yeah.
But drinking with control. And I think that's important. We all want to enjoy wine with moderation as well.
Always.
You, when I say authority, over the last 20 years, you've tasted 5,000 to 10,000 of wine a year.
Yeah, probably, thousands for sure.
Yes.
I stopped counting, obviously. I mean, I've been blessed with being in the wine business for many years, living in Napa for about 15, I guess, and I've always had kind of like the same rule, which is buying wine for luxury brands or right now for a big company. And yes, part of my job is obviously to drink on the job.
So you really know about the world of wine, and you work for a great company named Vivino.
Vivino.
One of the leading companies in the world of wine today.
So Vivino has actually, we just celebrated our 10 years anniversary earlier this year.
Yep.
And we actually, so Vivino, the concept of Vivino, hopefully some of you guys are familiar with it. So you take it's a smartphone app where you take a snapshot of a label, and it's the user base review on a 5-star scale about whether or not people obviously enjoy that wine. With you can put 1 star if you don't like it, 5 stars if you love it.
Well, so you put 5 stars for all those wines right now. Go on Vivino.com.
Yeah, and it's a very user friendly way to. The two founders, which are actually from Denmark, they didn't have any wine knowledge, and they just ended up being at the grocery store in front of a wall of wine. Say, I wish I would know what people think about it. So that's how Vivino started. And now, jumping 10 years later, we have about 50 million people using the app. It's the number
you said
one.
50 million.
Yeah, 50. So it's the biggest food and wine app in the world.
Fantastic.
And the funny thing is, we celebrated back in December our 1 billion scan. So those 1 billion people had scanned wine. And just to give you guys a sense of what it means, if you were to snapshot a label, it would take you every second. It would take you 30 years to get to 1 billion. And within December to December, so obviously in 1 year, we've got almost as many as well. So it's just growing a lot. And
well, it's exciting to really be able to marry, as you have, the tradition of wine and wonderful wines and great selection to technology.
Correct. It's
which is a big deal and no one has succeeded that in the wine trade.
Well, it's just like the younger generation are very inclined. It's like the Yelp of the world for restaurants. It's like they're used to that concept, or the Amazon, obviously, ratings of your product. So it speaks very easily to them.
Yes.
And obviously we all enjoy having like great praise, which you do for a lot of your wines from like critics, but there's also a value for not one person say that's an amazing wine as a professional person, but thousands of people as
it's the most
end users say that's a really good wine.
It's democracy.
That speaks, exactly.
Everybody ranks it.
Exactly.
And the aggregation of this gives you the ultimate 5.0.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Boris, I know you could finish that last little drop. It's not too hard. So we wanted to stay with Boris in the world of Pinot because he loves it. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a big fan of all wines, but I wanted to go on the Burgundy side of Sonoma.
Okay.
Because as you could see, we started in Burgundy. We went with a Sonoma Coast Rosé Pinot Noir. Very delicate, and I hope very refined.
That's very good.
Smelling a lot of the beautiful rose. And now, as I'd love for you to tell us about where you see the wine world in America, specifically going as a Frenchman with incredible heritage in wine, Loire Valley, 20 years of experience of tasting wines and buying wine for one of the most powerful companies in the world today. Where do you see wine in America going and the opportunities of tomorrow?
It's a big question for sure. I think that's the demand is definitely very, very high. And the reason why I think it's because the younger generation definitely are a lot more interested into wine than maybe some of the older generation will be into spirits, for example. And there's an eagerness to learn. That's the one thing that you say about the American market. They just love to learn and
a thirst to know more.
Well, exactly. And the thing with wine, the beauty is you're gonna love wine because there's gonna be something that's gonna match your profile. Whether it's some people love sweet wine and there's nothing wrong with this, all the way to very complex, expensive Pinot Noir or Cabernet Sauvignon, whether they're from here or from Europe,
That's right. So you're pretty bullish about what's happening right now.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot. I mean, right now in our market, I mean, we do sell a lot of Napa product, and maybe it's because as a wine buyer, I'm here in Napa, and obviously I got a lot more connection.
Yes.
But we also see a lot of demand for Pinot Noir, especially from Sonoma Coast, Russian River.
And Burgundy, because he's a big Burgundy
And
lover.
Burgundy, exactly. The one thing with Burgundy is just, it's, for me, it's the best. I mean, not because you're here. Just, if I had to, if you say, Boris, you have to drink just one style of one region moving forward, it would be Burgundy, because the sense of terroir is second to none. As you know, you can virtually be right here and move 100 yards down the vines, and it's going to be a totally different wine in terms of amazing place, amazing sense of place and people. The food is amazing as well. But the problem with Burgundy is just there's just too little wines.
That's right.
You know, to really make that impact. By definition, it's you can make so much wine within a parcel of vineyard anyway, and that's why they have to explore the other regions. You know.
That's it. That's why we came to the Russian River.
Exactly.
So the wine we're having, dear friends, is a great family, the Maboroshi.
Yeah, that's
this is
good.
fully organic, and you know, to your point earlier, Boris, you said something so important. American people are willing to listen and to learn and to follow a trend and a direction as long as you're willing to take them there. That family said, we want to make organic and biodynamic wine. And we guided them through, they got their certification, and it's one of the most prominent biodynamic wine we produce in the Russian River. 600 cases made.
Yeah, that's really good.
Unbelievable vineyard designate. And this wine, I got to tell you, blind, besides the exuberance on the nose, you could think it's a Burgundy.
Yeah, because you have that. Yeah, I mean, if I was to describe the wine, a lot of Bing cherry, like a lot of fruit, explosion to your mouth, but then you have a lot of acid to match as well, which again, for me, is what you want, because you want the wine to be matching the food, whatever you're going to do, and you also want the acidity to make the wine being age worthy anyway, you know, and you do get that for sure. It's
the sunlight of California with the power of the earth.
Well, exactly, because even though you're right, you get like the brightness that you would often find into some of the Pinot Noir from Burgundy, but I can see that's actually a Russian River, and that's good, because you want to be respectful of the terroir here as well, you know, and I can see it's a bit richer. Obviously, you got a bit more alcohol, a bit more density on the mouth, but you still have the elegance, you still have the acidity to match, which is obviously what makes the difference.
I will drink to that.
See?
So Boris, I know we've taken a lot of your precious time, but tell us, a next thing for you. You've lived a major reset, as we say, which is a rebirth in many ways.
Yeah.
So what are your aspirations now in your life as we live it? And it could be a spiritual answer. It doesn't have to be about business.
So it won't be about business, that's for sure. I mean, business has been such a big part of my life over the past 20 years. That's why I need to be able to detach myself from being obviously very dedicated to what I do.
Yes.
But to understand that I'm not defined by who I am as a worker or as a business person. I'm defined by who I am as an entity, globally speaking, you know. So
that's right.
So
well said.
Well, and so it's not so much in the future as much as it's already now, is to always, as I said before, always take the time for yourself to really think about what is important to me. Whether right now for me, I would tell you obviously my family, my close family, whether it's Jeanette, the kids, my son was obviously a bit older as well. Whether at some point to go back to France, obviously you and I haven't been able to travel as much as we like to do, because that's important. Obviously, that's the core for us. Like the connection to the place, the people is important, and to make time for people, to make time for myself, to make time for people as well. Would be,
well said.
Yeah.
To give your time to others as well, to provide your perspective, which has been amazing tonight. Now, what is your dream? Which is a different question.
Oh, my dream? Oh gosh.
And be as wild as you want.
Gosh, boy,
no one has asked me that question yet, but if I were, it will be wild.
I'm sure it will be. No, right now, I mean, throughout COVID, obviously, we have a lot of time to kill at home. We don't go to restaurants anymore.
And we're under curfew now.
And we're in curfew now. And so I took on a passion for making pizza.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
well, you need to come to the house, bring the dough, and we'll make pizza.
Yeah, so I got myself a pizza oven about a month ago, and that's my passion. I spend way too much time.
So cooking, making.
Yeah, because, and the reason why, because I count, like, why pizza?
Yeah.
And I think it's...
for a Frenchman, maybe the French invented pizza, didn't they?
Well, probably did. Sometime.
Italiano, si può provare.
Yeah. Although, you know what? Have you ever had some fouet from the Loire Valley? So it's like a small dough that you let
I love fouet. Yeah. We should focus on that.
Yeah, that would be a good thing too. But why pizza? I think it's because it's a very, very simple product that can make it to a very amazing, same as wine if you think about it, grapes.
That's right.
You get up with one at the end. Here you got water, flour, salt, and you make an amazing dough. And then obviously you want to keep it simple. I'm not talking about like the pizza, like you guys have like 25 toppings. So pizza, it's...
the simpler, the most refined.
Yeah,
sometimes.
It's San Marzano tomatoes. Maybe you can put some prosciutto if you want to get fancy, some buffalo mozzarella, and that's pizza. Everything else is something else.
So let's do a pizza party at the house before your end.
Yeah.
We have a few weeks, and our good friend Mira, who was on our show, who runs the Moscone Center, and is a great, fabulous friend. We'll invite him.
Okay.
Because you know what his dream is to perfect dough.
And
he's from Turkey, from the, obviously conflicts with Greece throughout the last thousands of years. They've exchanged good process of dough and flour and all that. So we'll do a party with him.
Okay, I love
Del Mirat, if you're with us tonight, you coming in the next few days.
It'll be a blessing and honor for sure.
So you're so wise, and I'm so glad we could spend a lot of this discussion as well on yourself and what you went through. I would love, Boris, for all our friends, it's the time of the holidays. Yes. Christmas is in a few weeks. Why don't you send the message you want to send to everyone as the advice, looking back and looking forward?
Okay, so I would probably say, again, unfortunately, it's going to be the most unusual holiday season that we've ever experienced. I mean, 2020 has been relentless in many ways. I would say, take the time to reflect of all the challenges that we had in 2020, and obviously being one business and then being in Napa, it's been definitely a year where you can easily make a huge list of like, hey, here's all the challenges. Well, just let this aside. It's the past anyway, and disregard this, but try to focus on something that's amazing that happened to you this year.
Yes.
And be blessed for that, being thankful for that. And even though we are not going to be able to celebrate with family and friends as we love to do, well, maybe then take the time to expand what you would have done, which is having dinner with a few family members or friends. Then that's still a very small amount of people. But why don't you try to expand by sending a letter, which we don't do anymore because we all text message each other.
Great.
Just send a letter, say, hey, I'm thinking about you for the holidays and hope everything is going well and looking forward to 2021, which is going to be an awesome year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has to be.
Oh, for sure. And we'll make it amazing.
We're going to make it amazing, and we'll be drinking a lot of wines as well, and some good wines, obviously. Especially in the wine business. I mean, Napa has had... it's funny because we've had a lot of challenges over the past few years. Yes. Fires, and but the quality of the wine that I've seen tells me that people... I've always been told... I came to Napa and said, people say, you know what, it's easy to make good wines in Napa, which actually it's an amazing place. The sense of terroir, the quality of the weather, everything is set to make it a special place. But it's truly when I see some of the vintages which we had to go through over the past few years, and then I can see the end result, because I was worried, because even though I don't make wine, I sell the wine. So it's me, I'm going to sell the end product of what you guys make. And I was like, wait a minute, that's pretty amazing, And I know that I'm not stupid. I know that obviously the selection is a lot more intense in the cellar in terms of like, okay, that's not going to make it to that one because we want to reach a certain level, and we're not going to we're not going to lower our quality because of the vintage anyway. But the quality of the wine has been tremendous. So not because you invited me, but I just want to tell everyone on the show.
Thank you for that.
That's and again, Vivino is a good example because I'm seeing, if you were to look on Vivino, which I invite you to do obviously, and make a comparison of any. So 2017 has been the first year when we had fires and it was like a bit of questionable. Look at the ratings on Vivino for 2017. Look at the same wine 2016. You're gonna see no difference. Virtually, you're gonna see thousands of reviews with same ratings because the wineries are dedicated to what they produce. Obviously, it's a luxury good for a lot of people, especially Napa. Napa is the
quality oriented.
Is the top, obviously, and just it's amazing to see that even though we were faced with challenges, there's probably less wine that made it to the cart, but what made it is just pretty spectacular anyway.
Dear friends, you know what to drink, and you know where to go, and you know how to rank wines.
That's right.
So, Boris, thank you for being with us tonight
pleasure.
On this amazing day of December. Thank you really for sharing this amazing life story.
Yeah, I know.
That, by the way, dear friends, can happen to any of us at any time. But what we learned tonight is resetting, rebirthing, redefining our priorities, redefining who we want to be, what we want to do, how we want to spend our time, and working on ourselves. It's a perfect time for the resolution of the new year.
Yes, true.
Thank you, Boris.
Santé.
Enjoy the holidays.